Hello, hello. Let me get our guest in. Let's see. Life in Depth, episode 13. Look at that. Let me find Sobek. Get him in here. Give me a minute. Might have to pause this. Oh, there you are. Brother Sobek back on here with us. Hey, sis. I see you in here.
Hey,
Sobek.
how you doing?
Look, I was like, so at this point in our brother sisterhood, we on the same frequency and we so tapped in that when it ain't even aligned, we already know it ain't even aligned. Like, and when it is. Because when I saw your text that you were like, give me 5 minutes, it's been a crazy day. Like, bro, why do we stay on the same frequency?
Why you was having
Because we,
crazy? You was having a crazy day too?
yes.
Yeah.
I really like, just wait till you see my stories. You were like, oh, shoot. I want to put my curlers in my head. I was like, dang, I went to pop on my stories and looked at I was like, what is this? This like right before popping onto here though, going to get my son. But that's the thing, we're parents
Yes,
first, right?
yes, definitely, definitely.
And so, first of all, you know I love your universal greeting. So when Sobek is on here, y'all, if you don't know already, I'm gonna have him do his universal greeting. Tap us all in, brother.
So, Hotep, Hetapu, Namaste, Shalom, Tokozah, Assalamu alaikum. All the universal greetings from all around the world, because at the end of the day, we're the same people. We all trying to break the cycle of suffering. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks.
Ashe, Ashe. Ooh, I always look forward to that part. So, whew, what do you want to do first? I'm gonna leave it up to you. You are the guest. Would you prefer to speak about your fruit up diet or answer some questions?
We could. What I mean, we could do whichever one you want to do. It don't matter. It don't matter.
All right, we got quite a little list of questions. So you know what? Tell me a little bit about your fruit up diet first, because that is my question.
Uh,
What has it brought for you? Have you experienced since transitioning diets?
um. So I've been knowing about the fruitarian lifestyle for a few years, but I've never had the urge to do it.
Mm-hmm.
However, over the years, I felt like being a vegan. I still wasn't having the energy that I needed to, and the mental focus that I needed to complete daily tasks. So I started to look at other alternative ways of eating. So I came across what it means to be a fruitarian. And since I've been transitioning over into more fruit-based living or diet, I've
Mm-hmm.
just been noticing just more mental clarity, more energy, and one of the issues I kind of hesitate about eating more fruits and cutting back on my vegetables is like you lose a lot of weight and waste. Um, and that's probably been one of the things that has stopped me from going all the way in. But I told myself, since we're in the spring, we're heading into the summer, I was gonna give myself 3 to 4 months to just go all the way in, consuming fruits. And I know I may have a couple hiccups here and there, but my goal is to consume all fruits. So today I had a fruit smoothie just with dates, bananas, strawberries. I mean, not strawberries, but blueberries. And then I had a couple oranges, and that's it. That's all I had today.
I love it.
And for tonight, I probably have a watermelon. I might juice some watermelon. More than likely, I juice some watermelon.
I've been seeing the watermelon juices and that, like, yeah, all your juices look right. They look on point. They look, and that's the thing for me right now. I have certainly noticed after my experience with being in the hospital back in November, a craving, literally just a craving for fruit so strong that like I just want juicy fruit and like salads and like that is my soul food right now. Oh, let me see. He froze up. We lost you. We lost you. Let me wait for him to tap back in. But yeah, I have certainly noticed for myself a strong craving for better foods, better eating, healthier eating. And I certainly feel that it is a shift into spring, a shift into summer for me where I want my body feeling lighter. I want to feel lighter mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so that's what it is for me with wanting to, and for me, not shifting to fruitarian, but for me wanting to implement more of what I know my body needs. Because after being in the hospital and being so nutrient deficient, y'all, let me tell you, I could tell you what I was low on in the hospital without them doctors even telling me. I would be like at one point they were feeding me soy sauce. Like they drenched my rice in soy sauce because I was so low on sodium. But I could feel that. I was craving the salt. I wanted it. But it's crazy how when you are really tapped into your body, when you are really tapped into your intuition, how you know what you need. You know what you need. Your body knows what it needs. Let me see if we can get Brother So back because I'm ready to look. I'm ready to tap into the questions that we got. Let me see if I can find him or see him come back up in here. And let me get my questions ready while I'm doing that. Okay. Let's see. So back. Okay. I hope that paused. I think that paused this. Oh, so back. There you go. All right. Let me try to add you now again. Now it won't let me invite you. Try to request joining. There we go. Let's see if we can get him back in here. Okay, so back. I don't see you. If you are back in here already, do try to request to join the live. Let's see if this will work. Yes.
All right.
Commanding this internet to work. Come on.
Mine died on me. We're good now. We're good. Sorry about that.
King, we got it. We straight, y'all. We straight.
So what did you saying about you had to go to the hospital and what happened?
So in November, I know it was my IUD. I was on burnout. Look, I was coming up in business. I was giving. I was having signs that my body was not reacting well to my IUD, to my birth control. And I've never really been one to be on birth control anyway. And so in ignoring those signs, let's see, it was day before Thanksgiving, or it was the day of Thanksgiving when I started feeling funny and really tired and out of it. And then 4 days after Thanksgiving, my husband went to try to get me up out the bed, get me into the shower, just to try to get me moving. And he noticed like discoloration in my body. Like I was literally dying in the bed. And that was due to severe infection. I got septic shock. So I was so nutrient deficient in that hospital. I was telling them when you had popped off of here and lost connection, that it was crazy how without the doctors telling me what I needed, I knew what my body needed. I knew what nutrients I needed because I was craving the salt. I was craving the fruit. I was craving, like whatever I was craving, I knew that's what I needed. And that has been my guide for my healing, because I came out that hospital, I couldn't even walk so bad.
Wow.
I was on a walker. I came home and my whole life was changed. I went from being the stay-at-home mom who did everything to not being able to do anything. And having to nourish myself back to where I am today, and continuing to nourish myself by listening to my body, listening to what my body wants to eat, listening to what and when I need to be drinking water, when I need to be moving faster or moving slower. And it's all about just tapping into what the soul needs, you know. And that's once again why I love your teachings, because you don't push nothing on nobody. You teach them how to work with their resources, work with what they have, and work with what is aligned with them and for them. And that's how we get to the highest self, right?
Definitely. Yes. So everything, so since then, you've been feeling a lot better?
Yeah, man. It's been a crazy journey. I think it was right about after Christmas, I started walking without my cane. Look, I had, and it makes me think of, you know, just the power of the mind. It makes me think of so much of your teachings, right? Because I came out of that hospital and my doctors are still like, just a couple weeks ago, I had a follow-up and she was like, how are you like this right now? She was like, are you right here? Like, how are you walking? How are you so nourished? And breath work.
What did they say what did they say happened to you?
So I got burnt out. I got stress induced. I was doing too much and my immune system got weakened, and I caught a virus that was local to the pelvic area, to the womb space. And so that is also where I've been focusing a lot of my overlay. That is where I have been focusing a lot of my healing as well now too, in the womb space, because that is the woman's point of creation, yeah. And so if she ain't healthy, I ain't healthy, and not enough people are talking about that. And so in that experience, in a near-death experience, I've recently joined a support group because I was like, I feel so much spiritual connection with life after this. I feel so much more in my power. And this is leading up to a question we had actually. For me, I realized I had to experience my downfall to be able to rise to where I am even today. And I'm gonna keep going higher. We both keep going higher, right? Because that's what we're on. We're both on the path of being so tuned in and tapped into our gift that we're letting the gift guide us. And that is how you keep going up, y'all. That is how y'all keep Miriam. I don't know if you know, but my daddy calls me Carly Bear. You just called me Carly Bear. What? Okay, you one of my soul sisters too, though, so I know we connected, but that's funny that you said that. Blessings and love to y'all too. Thank y'all for tapping in. And yeah, so that's the power of your mindset. That's the power of your connection to your heart, to your soul, to your breath. That's the power of the mind-body connection that we teach and preach. Because I came home from that hospital, I still couldn't walk yet, right? I remember waking up in the middle of the night one night, I had to pee, and I was like, oh shoot, I gotta wake my husband up so he could take me to the bathroom,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And that in those same nights, I remember telling one of my friends, I had a dream, and TJ had to wake me up, right? Because in my dream, I was in our backyard running, and it was springtime. It was a spring day like it is right now, and I was just barefoot running, playing in the grass, right? And and TJ said he had to wake me up because my feet were like kicking. And so in that moment, when I woke up that day and wrote down that dream, it hit me that my mind already knows where my healing's going to go. My mind knows I'm going to be healed. My heart knows I'm going to be healed. Because I've tapped into that divine power. I have tapped into the divinity within me.
Mm-hmm.
And so in those visions, we have to see power within that vision, right? It's just like you were speaking about with tapping into the telepathy frequency, which I would love to go there in this conversation with that, because do you think, one question I have for you, do you think you have to already be tapped into higher self before you're tapping into telepathy frequency?
I don't think so, but I think it's just like with anything. I think the more you train your telepathic power, it becomes stronger. I think a lot of people are in tune to a certain extent with that telepathy. But again, I think the more you clean your vessel, the more you focus your mind, the more you walk around with the light heart, the more you're in tune with nature, the more you are being connected with your ancestors and understanding the power of your ancestors. I think that telepathic power is increased. I noticed. I mean, even with, if you think about a mother, well, parents and their child, like even with children have that telepathic awareness with their parents. Like my son, his speech is delayed. However, I can look at his body language and know what he needs, or I can look at his facial expressions and know what he needs. I'm reading a book right now called The Garden, Returning Back to the Brain of Eden, and in the book he talks about how in other countries, especially like places like Africa and India, China, children start talking later versus here in America. Like here in America, we really push our child to speak at an early age.
The childhood. Yo, I just had a conversation with a friend about this today. We be making kids grow up too fast.
Making them grow up too fast. However, when you go to other countries, they push more so of them building that telepathic connection and again, reading body language, facial expressions, and over time that child would learn how to speak. However, that same child will have a better connection of their body. So that question made me think about again what I was reading in that book called The Garden of Eden. And again, the more you develop yourself, the more, because I mean, a lot of this stuff is already in us, but we have to train ourselves in a certain way to strengthen that connection.
And do you believe that as expressive beings, first of all, I love what you said about examining your son. I love that you're not just, we are expressive beings, right? So I love that you're not just waiting for him to verbally express, you're paying attention to all areas of
Yeah.
expression. And it's so beautiful in parenting when we can do that and be mindful in that way. And so one question I have, being expressive beings, do you feel that as parents, we should be listening more to all areas of their expression and they should be guiding us more so?
Yeah, because that's a good point, because I feel our children are a reflection of us. So we're
Mm.
literally looking at an aspect of us. And when I think about meditation and mindfulness, one thing I talk about how is children are some of the best mindful teachers,
Mm.
because they're always aware, they're constantly aware, they're in the moment. You may discipline them, and next thing you know, they're back in the moment. They're not holding on any grudges. They love unconditionally, and these are all qualities of a meditative master, or somebody who is a wise soul, whether it be a sage or a guru or a Buddha Vista or a Buddha, or somebody who's tapped into the Christ consciousness. These are
Mm.
all qualities that child has, that child is teaching. One thing my son teach me is, my son is a fighter. He he's always smiling. He's always happy, and even though everything he's been through, he still smiles. He's still happy, and he teaches me the importance of, again, just being strong in the midst of adversity.
Mm. Woo, I love that point, and it's so beautiful that you are talking about that right now, because in my healing after November, I have found myself in a state of being guided by my children so much more than I ever have, because I've been able to be sick and sit in that bed, not being able to walk. I've been able to sit down and observe all of their actions, all of what they're doing, and see their reaction to me coming home and not being able to pick them up, not being able to, but how did y'all know?
Mm-hmm.
See, and that goes back to them being tapped into that Christ
Yep.
consciousness, as you said. I like how you said that, because in the hospital, I would have experienced a coming to Christ. I don't know what you want to call it, but I just remember being in that hospital, not sure if I was going to make it, and then praying. I remember praying to, like, any spiritual being. I said, Great Spirit, Krishna, Allah, Buddha, whoever, Bodhisattva, whoever can hear me, whoever spiritual angelic beings who can hear me, hear my cry for life. Hear what I desire to finish and complete in this lifetime. And I don't know what came to me in that hospital, but I'm going to tell you what, the head doctor that I had was this Indian doctor. And I loved, he came to the room, and I'm pretty sure it's a Rumi. I was trying to remember whose quote. I was talking about this earlier today. He would always pray over me. Like, he would always feel my energy before he actually even approached me. He was taking such a holistic approach, and I was so grateful to be in a hospital where they were doing that. And so he said, we're all just walking each other home. Brother, could I tell you that when I got out that hospital, one of my sacred sisters from Dr. Shelly Ann's community said the same thing to me, and I broke down because I felt his energy. And I was just like, the fact that he had a deeper knowing because he was intuitively connected, and he was using his gifts for me, for my life. And he knew I was going to leave the hospital. You had a deeper knowing. And in that knowing, you prayed over me every morning at 4 a.m. when you would come bugging in my room.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so thankful for that, because that also reflects to me that in the reflection I have put out into the universe, in the frequency that I am vibrating on, I attracted that doctor. I attracted every nurse, every doctor, every person, every hand who was laid on me. And I think the same in life in general. That is what we're all doing. We are attracting what is on our sound resonance, what is on our frequency, and it goes back to the telepathy frequency as well too. Let me see some of these comments. Somebody asked what virus. I was in septic shock. Infection got into my blood from the IUD, and that is be more patient with the child. Yes, because we have to be. I always speak to the universe, and when I ask for something, it gives me exactly what I asked for. I had to be more specific. That part. Be specific with your prayer. Be specific with your intention. Let me see. One of these questions on here was awesome, because they said, since the last live with me and you on here, you both have stepped into your purpose even more. Can you both see this going global after community? So I guess our work going global. What? I'll let you go first.
If it's, I see if my work is meant to go global, it will.
Mm-hmm.
However, my blood and a lot of my the essence of who I am is in Roanoke. And I feel like the more people I can touch in my city and surrounding areas, if it's meant to go global, so be it. But you have some people who may be global who don't have a connection to their roots back in their hometown. So me personally, it has always been about building the foundation and having an impact on my environment. And like I said, if it's meant for it to spread, it will. But at the same, not throwing shade on anybody, but I know a lot of guys who have went global, but they haven't for their city. They haven't done anything for their family. They haven't done anything for the community. So me personally, it's about building my roots here in the city, and it'll spread. It'll spread. I feel the work that I've done. I mean, I don't promote myself like that on social media. I don't spend a lot of time on social media to really push my message out there. But I think once I'm done with certain trainings that I'm going through, and I really start to push my message, it has the potential to go global. But right now, I'm really just trying to I'm not trying to, but I'm building a solid foundation in my city, in my community. And if the internet shut down tomorrow or right now, I've built a foundation that where I will be able to sustain my life.
That part, and that is so powerful, and that's something Dr. Shelley talks about, is that if social media ain't there, what do you still have?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you still have? And I love that you spoke about that, because it just takes me to who you are in general. Like you are going to the root, right? And that is your roots, your home. And so you're healing the root, because a plant can be pretty and still have bad roots.
There you go.
Okay? A plant could be pretty. It could look like it's thriving. It could look like this, that, and the other, but it got bad roots. And if you ain't got a solid foundation, you ain't going nowhere. Well, you might go somewhere, but it ain't gonna be on some real shit. Yeah. I'm just keep it real. It ain't gonna be on some real. And one day you gonna feel it. You gonna feel that you ain't alive.
Yeah, it's a particular brother that I got a lot of respect for, and I ain't gonna say his name, but I got a lot of respect for him. He has a lot of followers on social media. I mean, a lot of followers. Has done some great things, but at the same time, he doesn't have, again, he doesn't have a community. He doesn't have an actual community that backs him. He doesn't have actual elders. He doesn't have people to support him and back him. And since like the last couple years, he's been on a slowly decline, and it's because he hasn't been held accountable. He doesn't have community. He doesn't have anybody that's gonna check him. So me personally, I think it's important that to build that foundation. If you can, some people may be living in an environment where they don't really have anybody around them to connect with and to spread the word. You have to go on social media, and through social media, it goes global. But don't let a large following and views fool you, because a lot of that is some of it can be, a lot of times some of that stuff can be a front. I've heard of guys who were social media influencers who said that sometimes they would go to certain expensive hotels and take pictures like they're at these hotels, and they put it on social media. Next thing you know, they got over 10,000 views, and the whole time they didn't even check into the hotel but they just know how to promote themselves on social media. So they put up this facade. And me personally, I just try to be as genuine as possible with my movement.
See, that's the part right there. You can pay for followers.
Yeah.
You can pay these things to be getting these followers, but that's what's it. That's where we connect. That's where we're the same, because I want authenticity in it.
Yes.
I want genuine connection. I want genuine support. Yeah. Those I also support. Because it's reciprocity too. It's not just about getting the views. See, that when you start paying attention to that stuff, that's when it's feeding the ego. It ain't even feeding your soul work. Yes. It ain't even feeding your life work or whatever you might think. It's gonna be feeding your life work if it's aligned. Mm-hmm. And so one more question, from the same person: what keeps you both going besides outside forces?
Oh, you want to answer that question?
I think, you know what, for me, it's knowing what I went through, knowing the dark path I went down on, and if somebody had been there with a few just little tips and tricks to be like, hey girl, this, hey girl, that, I could have been so much further by now. And so I want to, for me, it's about inspiring the next person to be able to miss that obstacle if you can. I want to be able to. Ooh, I recently had somebody on that I went to college with at Ferrum, and his motto is pushing the generations forward. That's what it is for me. It's the next generation that keeps me going. Mm-hmm. And that's what, now that I'm thinking about it, with my work being centered around trauma release and inner child, I had a revelation today that hit me that, like, in my whole life, every person I see, I always be thinking of people as like their inner child. I be looking at people, like I'll be looking at you right now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just want to see you laughing and playing and like with a big smile on your face giggling. Like that's how I want to see people connected to their inner child, because that so connects us to, once again, like the Christ consciousness, that higher power energy. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is for me. It's the inner child that keeps me going.
Mm. I would say what keeps me going is I've been doing the work for so long and been so consistent with work that I don't know any other way but to do it this way.
That part. You come to a point where you know nothing about this second nature.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like I said, I don't know any other way. I can't see myself transgressing. I can't see myself going backwards. I can't see myself doing the things that I used to do and hanging around the people that I used to hang with, and being in the places and the spaces that I used to reside. Like, I do it for my family. I do it for my community. I do it for my ancestors, because if it wasn't for my ancestors, I wouldn't be here. So I owe it to them to continue to perfect myself and help others become more in tune with their ancestry, so they can continue to perfect themselves and generational curses.
That's so, man. See, that's what it is, and it's crazy because, like, I think once Taloria is who sent me your profile. The first time she was like, I got this dude, you know, I think you would like resonate with what he teaches. Da, 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 da.
Who
And it's like,
who was it again?
Taloria.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and she was like, and then I was like, dang, like when I discovered your teachings and everything, that's when I really started to go down kind of like that questioning the ancestral path, not just the future. And it kind of leads back to the Dr. Joe teaching of like having the past, present, and future self all aware in the mind's eye, so that you can know where you're being guided. And it goes back to roots again. Thankful for your ancestors. Thankful for the path that they forged to lead you where you at right now. Like, because that's the thing. People aren't going back to root first and being grateful there first. People aren't going back to the hometown first and being grateful for that first. Like, yeah. I like what keeps you going. I like what keeps you going, because that is the thing that literally keeps humankind going. Like, that's what keeps us going, is ancestry, is generations.
A lot of times
I'm trying to get over it.
I think sometimes people forget about the power of the ancestral spirit. And like I said before, if your mother and your father's mother and father and their mothers and fathers and their mothers and fathers would never made the decision to give birth, you wouldn't be here. The way that you look, the way that you sound, certain behaviors, certain habits, more than likely it came from your mother and your father, and which was passed down from their mothers and their fathers. So we're literally a walking and talking embodiment of our ancestors. And a lot of our gifts that we have, we've been educated to believe that the only thing that is passed down, one of the things that's passed down to us through our ancestry, is disease. However, once we start to change our life and we start to make different choices, we see that that's not true. However, we also understand that certain gifts that we have we just didn't wake up with these gifts. These are things, and once we get into African spirituality, we understand that certain gifts, certain forms of medicine is passed down through the blood. And with that being said, it's up to us to now to cultivate that gift, to cultivate that medicine, in order to use it to help with our purpose in life. I know on the path of becoming a Sangoma, which is a African shaman, has been a powerful experience, because growing up as a child, I used to like to sing, and as I got older, I stopped singing because I thought it was feminine, because my brothers didn't sing, my brothers didn't sing, my cousins didn't sing. Nobody in my environment would sing, unless if I went to church, but I didn't go to church like that. Right. So I thought it was real feminine. But once I started getting into the Sangoma traditions, and my Baba, which is my teacher, started to teach me about the importance of singing, the importance of dancing, the importance of calling on your ancestors, it started to awaken something in me that that helped me start to tap into my right brain, which is more of my creativity, more of my that's one of my students right there.
Oh, stop. Who just came in?
Azarion. What's good, Azarion? That's one of my students. But
leave some love in the comments.
Yes. So just getting into this new awareness of the shamanic work, it's been a powerful experience. It's been a very powerful experience. Hey, Azari, I'm gonna see you tomorrow in class, bro.
I love it. I love it. And see the smile on your face when they popped in too. That's what does it for me. That's the authenticity for me, because you can't see someone that you would truly enjoy their energy. You truly enjoy their exchange.
Mm-hmm.
That like you can't, yeah, you can't see them and not smile, not give a genuine smile. I'm suspense. Stop.
He's
Stop.
suspended. Dang, Zarian. I told you, Zarian, we gonna talk, bro. But I told you. But we gonna talk. But you know, I've been telling you in class the last couple weeks. I told you, Zarian is a good kid. He's a good kid. He's I think Zarian's in the 10th or 11th grade. Very respectful. It's all good. But yeah, Zarian, keep your head up. But yeah, I really enjoy the work that I do, because to be honest with you, I would have never thought in a million years that I would be working with students and educating students and doing the work in the community. I would have never thought I would be doing this type of work, because growing up, I either thought I was going to be a basketball player or I was going to be in the streets, because that's all I seen. So with that being said, go ahead.
You know, look what we grew up around. Look at the environment that we grew up in. And that is the aspiration for a lot of the boys that we grew up with. Because that's what we saw. You know, we're only giving what we're given. And so when you are given that environment, that's what. So, okay, with you speaking on that right there, it kind of ties in with a question that we had. What led you there? What you said you never would have thought in a million years. How did you get there then? How did you get here?
I would say my ancestors. When my mother transitioned, I made a choice. I made a choice. I had two paths I could have picked. I could have picked the path to self-destruction, something that I knew how to do. I knew how to destroy. I knew how to destroy myself. I knew how to destroy my community. I knew how to destroy my family. Or I could have picked the path of self-healing. And so I picked the path of self-healing, and I went around learning from master teachers, learning from my spiritual guides, learning from different people who is going to teach me how to heal myself, and eventually teach
you what you didn't know.
Yeah.
Teach you what you didn't know.
Exactly.
Love that. Okay. Okay.
And eventually started to share that information with my community. And the more I started to do it, the more I started to see how impact I was having on the youth. And for people who don't know my story, my program, I started teaching at Win Fleming 4 years ago. My program started off with like 20 students. Now it's up to 70. And my program has made national headlines from Yahoo News, Black Enterprise, SM Magazine. My program is making waves throughout the city. They want to implement my program into the city of Roanoke school system because of the impact it's having on our youth. And what I'm doing, I'm actually creating the new wave of how we should be educating our youth in the school system. And
that's what I was thinking on, that part.
And a lot of things that my teaching style comes from the way that I was taught going through different rites of passages, and it's all based on ancestral wisdom. It's also based on ancestral guidance. A lot of my curriculum is based on spirit. I might have a lesson plan for that day. However, if I see energies is off in the room, then I have to change it. So with the wave of teaching that I bring is more holistic. And since post pandemic, we're dealing with a totally different child. We're dealing with totally different youth. So we have to come with a totally different teaching method in order to truly heal our youth.
That part. That is so strong right there. That is such a big message. And it's crazy because when I really sit here and think about, you you are, and I've said it before, you are the stepping stone into the change that school systems need to see. Because as we progress in life, it's just keep, we just keep going. We just keep going. And so
I just got out of a meeting with a researcher from Radford University, and what we're going to do, a guy named Frank Dane, they want me to be on the Mindfulness Institute, be a part of the Mindfulness Institute here in Roanoke. And one of the first projects we're going to do, we're going to start doing research on the things, the program at Fleming. We're about to start doing research and show how what we are doing in the school system is having an impact on our youth.
yeah.
He said you should bring her as a guest speaker.
I will come. I am a Fleming kid. Look,
Are you with the Fleming? Oh, I know you
I'm
with
a
the Fleming.
Fleming kid.
Oh, wow, that's what's up.
Yeah, so I'm with these Fleming kids, and that's what it is for me too. I think that's why I want to come back for. That's why we gonna collab. I ain't gonna say I want to try. That's why we gonna collab for a Roanoke event.
Yeah,
It's gonna be healer and my ass. We're gonna be breathing with the community. We're gonna be welcoming the community on a different vibration. We're gonna let y'all feel a different vibration because, like you said, it's a new generation out here.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta have a different approach. We gotta have a different approach, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it would be beautiful to be able to collab in the way of, because typically I only work with women.
Mm-hmm.
I only work with women, right? And with you being a healer in the community for idol for young men in that way, and a healthy idol at that. In that way, like, that is where magic is presented. When you be collaborating in these divine gifts, collaboration in divinity. Because I'm sorry, okay, lives with Sobek, it's a thing on here, because when people see that you're coming back, they're like, okay, I'll be getting questions. I'll just be getting questions. Okay, so look, let me see. Let me try to get a few more up in here. Someone said, ooh, do you ever feel, I think you already answered this question. Do you ever feel different and afraid to express because of it? My man felt like he had to stop singing. Yes. Yes. Sometimes you feel like you can't express.
Even with the path that I'm walking right now, I still have difficulty expressing myself. Because again, right now I'm wearing locks. Most people don't know. The reason why I wear locks is because it's a part of the transition that I'm going through. And I still feel uncomfortable with wearing my natural locks, especially when I'm going to these city meetings and I'm being around these professional people. I feel uncomfortable about that, or me wearing my beads, my traditional beads, or me wearing my traditional clothing. I feel some days I feel uncomfortable about that. So I'm still learning to really appreciate myself and walk in my gifts and my purpose without feeling any type of way. But it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard when you live in a city, and I love my city. I love Roanoke, but it's kind of hard when you're living in a city where people are not used to thinking different. People are not used to eating different. People are not used to looking different, and so it's kind of hard to be in an environment like that. And that's probably been one of my biggest challenges, is accepting me for who I am, no matter what.
And fully embracing that, fully embracing you on your journey as you rise in your power is so important, because the way you embrace yourself allows others to recognize how they can embrace you.
Yeah.
Even if they're uncomfortable comfortable with it. And I love what you said, because that leads up to a question that I had. It clearly, I can't remember who it was from, but it came from somebody that is from
Okay.
Roanoke, because they were like, essentially, I left Roanoke. Like, I was there up until we had our first kid. He was 6 months when my husband got his job here in North Carolina. And so they're asking about the difference between you still being in the rooted environment, in the home environment, and changing the way you have, evolving the way you have, and continuing to do so, as opposed to me. So I think they're trying to ask, is it easier to evolve when you're there or when you're gone? I think
That's a good question.
it really depends. But see, I can't say, because I wasn't, but I started to evolve. I started my evolution before I left Roanoke, and it hit some people, because, I mean, look, I've told people this and they look at me like I'm crazy. You could go back home to Roanoke and be talking about yoga, this and that, and be like, next thing you know, they're going to be like, oh, are you Buddhist? Are you
Yeah.
this or that? What, you witchcraft, da da da. Y'all calm down. Y'all calm down, because
Yeah.
God forbid I'll let you say Ashe, because they were like, oh, back up. No, it's okay, calm down. And I think that is a good question. I can't really say that.
I mean, me personally, I think that I can grow in any environment, because true growth starts from within.
That part,
But
you
the
got to
beauty
go
about
wherever you're at.
Roanoke is, once you really start doing the internal work, and you really start to connect with nature in Roanoke, you have access to the river, you have access to the trees, you have access to the mountain, the Star Mountain. So me that was probably one of the biggest things that started to help me grow, when I started to submerge myself in these different energy portals in the city. And the more I started to do that work, more ideas started to come to me, more healing started to come, more abundance. Any type of questions I had, I would go to these certain energy centers in the city that helped me solve problems. So one thing I love about African spirituality, or just, I won't even say African, just indigenous spirituality in general, is that it's about connecting with nature. And once you have a connection with nature, it doesn't matter where you're at, because nature is nature. Whether you're in Asia, whether you're in India, whether you're in Australia, whether you're in Africa, nature is nature. The same elements that are in these different locations, you can tap in anywhere.
I love that. I love that. And it's so funny, because it's making me think of right now, like, y'all don't want to run into this Carly in a frolicky little flower dress this spring, because she survived that hospital stay and has a whole new connection with life and earth, because your girl just be running around hugging these trees, literally. I mean, which I always have in general. Like, I've always been a tree hugger, but I mean, I literally be hugging these trees. I'm like, I'd be like, thank you, divine, thank you, universe. Like, I just be out here giving so much thanks, and like, just have a whole new level of gratitude when you truly can connect with nature, and also realize that you are nature, which is why we connect with it, which is why we also connect with plant medicine. And so it leads me back to tap in more into the medicine woman within. Because before I left Roanoke, that's something I was brewing my own kombuchas. Look, I grew my own stogies. Okay. I was growing my herbs to blend in to flavor the kombucha. Like, it's just, and that's something that I recently realized, was I had a revelation, which it seemed so mundane, but yet so big at the same time. I think it hit me that, like, this is what my great grandmothers did. This is what my family, how y'all healed. Me rubbing plantains on my mosquito bites, I didn't just get that download from nowhere. It came from the ancestors, okay? And so that's when we also, I think, can heal on a different level, when you're connected with that ancestral spirit as well as nature.
Definitely. And just to give more context about the ancestral spirit, keep in mind that when we talk about the ancestral spirit, we're not talking about something that's external. We're talking about
Mm,
in the blood that's inside,
mm,
but it's also outside. But the way we ignite and tap into it is going within. So the reason why I like to emphasize that, because a lot of times when we leave religion and we get into spirituality, we can still think in a religious, we can still have a religious mindset when it comes to spirituality. And again, when we're talking about ancestors, we're not talking about something outside of self. We're talking about something that is within.
the divinity within. That's important. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a question I've had too, is recently. Oh, it was actually on here. Hold up. I just looked down. Who is God to you both? So, Becky, you just went live on Facebook about this, so I'm going to let you go with this.
Uh, First of
I feel
all,
like I have the same answer for both of us, essentially, because I mean, I just, once again, just as you've said before, I trust your guidance. I trust your intuition. I trust you. So,
I appreciate it. So as a child, I thought God was something outside of self. I thought God was something that's in the sky and who was sitting in the chair and who was commanding me or watching me do good or
watch
evil. As I got older and became more conscious, started to get into more mindfulness meditation. I started to learn God was something that was within me. And then the more I started to study, again African spirituality, studying Hinduism. I started to see the different expressions of God from these different cultures and paradigms. So when I started to get into Kemetic spirituality, I started to see that God, or what they call Netaru, is in nature, and God has, or the Netaru expresses itself in many different forms. This is why when we study the Kemetic text or the Medu Neter, we see one thing people say about Kemet or Egypt, ancient Egypt, is how come they had so many different gods? And the reason being because you can't put God in a box. God, it will express itself in different forms. So the more we see the different expressions of God, the more we can see how infinite God's knowledge is. And so to me, God is something that, and even right now, my notion, my understanding of God is still evolving. Even me doing my shamanic work, I'm starting to learn the art of prayer and how to really, because at one time I really didn't pray. I knew about prayer, but again, I thought that was connected to religion. And but once I started to do my shamanic work, my Sangoma work, I started to see that prayer is another a tool that we can use to connect with the Creator. Still to this day, my notion of what God is still evolving, and I think that's logical to have that mentality, because we're talking about something that we really can't fathom as humans. We really can't fathom that divine intelligence. So for me to say God is this and this is what God is, I truly can't say that, because it's constantly evolving. It's constantly growing. The more I grow and evolve, my understanding of God is going to grow and evolve as well.
I'm just taking a minute on that one, because that is something people got to hear. And Miriam, she said, I appreciate that distinction that you spoke about, God being an external being, having this idea that, and it just makes me think of as above, so below.
Yeah, there you go. As
I
above, so
mean,
below.
it literally, that's the only thing that's coming to me right now, because I also love that. I mean, we see that the same way, because for me, especially for like my family, they didn't like that I was always curious about every other religion, because for me, perfect is an illusion. And I think I just shared this on my story recently. Perfect is an illusion because perfect is going to be different for everyone. Perfect is a real thing to me, but it's different for everybody. And that's what we're not being told about God, too. God is different for everybody. As well as God is going to be different from you yesterday to, once again, as you said, your understanding of him today and tomorrow and the next day. And let me not say him, because that's another thing we get comfortable with is sexualizing, genderizing, a entity, an energetic entity. When you said something too about like as you evolve, there's a different understanding of God daily, like as you grow. And it's crazy because like what's hitting me is like we are God, right? We're all energetic beings. We're all this energetic being. We're just in human form right now. So we can't even conceptualize and understand the energy that is within us fully while we are in this human form. And so in that, it's like you said, you have to give space and grace to be okay with not always understanding what God is to you.
Yeah.
Because that was another thing that really confused me growing up. I mean, I was forced to go to church. Like, we had to dress up, had to go to church, had to da-da-da. And so for me, when I wanted to question that God, that y'all told me, don't judge you, that this God that you told me has infinite love and eternal love for all beings, well then why he shaming this person that believe in that God? And when I would be asking questions like that, they were like, don't ask questions like that. Because kids are tapped into that spiritual, intellectual. The children, and once again, this is what brings me to inner child work and keeping that inner child alive. Because if you stay tapped into that inner child, nothing is impossible. You allow yourself space to ask these questions, because grown-ups always be like, I'm the grown-up and da-da-da, and I don't have to tell you why. But when that child grows up and they're the grown-up and you still keeping that inner child alive inside, you got infinite possibility within you, okay? Because it brings healing to a whole new level when you can also be guided by that inner child in your divine power. And I feel like that's kind of where we both are, in a sense of you moving more into your spiritual work, moving more into serving people, and moving more into your life work and rising in that power. That's kind of where we're both at, is learning how to balance expressing ourselves once tapped in and rising in that power, once rising in your gift. That was another question too, is like, how do you balance your growth? And that's it. I mean, you just got to find different ways every day. You tap into yourself and question. You got to check in with yourself every day. That's another thing that people aren't doing enough. You only checking in when something's wrong. Check in every day, because you got to have an energy check.
Definitely. And we get talking about balancing your growth and being balanced and checking in with ourselves. And this goes into why ritual is so important, because ritual, when we create rituals throughout our day, when we wake up, or midday rituals or rituals before, those moments are time for us to ground and to find balance and speak to the ancestors and to speak to Creator. And again, when we're talking about speaking to the ancestors, we're just talking about speaking to our higher self. So again, we want to be realistic, because again, one of the questions I ask my students at the beginning of the school year, I ask them, when you look in the mirror, who do you see? And most of them with arrogance say, well, I see myself. Then the next question I ask them, okay, if you see yourself, who do you look like, your mother or your father? And then some say, oh, I look like my mother. Some say I look like my father. Or some say I look like both. Then the next follow-up question is, who does your mother and your father look like? And more than likely, their mother and their father. So again, when we look in the mirror, we don't just see ourselves. we actually see a continuation of our ancestors. So again, when we're speaking to our ancestors, we're just speaking to our higher self. It's a form of self-talk. A self-talk. This was a technique that our ancestors were using in ancient times. I got a book called this book called The Witch Doctor and the Psychiatrist, and there was a psychiatrist who was going to different places around the world, studying the medicine men, studying the medicine women, studying the shamans, studying the Sangomas, and what he realized was that a lot of the techniques that they were using in psychology and psychiatry was the same techniques that people have been using for thousands of years. The only difference is when a client goes to see a medicine man or a medicine woman, the difference is that medicine man or that medicine woman has a actual genuine connection with that person, versus us over here when we go to a counselor, the connection is really not a real genuine connection. This is why when I speak to people and they say, oh yeah, I went to a counselor, I got some therapy, but it's still not working, and a lot of times it's not a genuine connection.
No connection.
So when we start to study, when we start to really study, that's why I love studying culture. I love studying ancient culture so much, because there's so many jewels that's in it that we learn that we can benefit from right here now.
I love that. I love that. And it's so aligned with like that's exactly it's just so funny to me how we'll be ignoring the history. We'll be ignoring the ancestry. And it's important that we tap into that. It's important that we understand that connection too, because like you said about people that be talking about like, oh, I went to a therapist, but like it's not helping. This conversation between me and you can help somebody more than a therapist could sometimes, because we are resonating on a real level together. We resonate on something deeper than just us talking between the screen. There is a deeper connection, and so people will resonate with this message more than you might resonate with a bespoke chat with your therapist.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's the power in, once again, tapping into your gifts and tapping into the ancestry and what that adds to the gift, because you said there's so many jewels. I love that you love studying ancient culture, because this is literally like, I think this is why we connect, because I've always had such a deep yearning to understand other cultures, to understand other religions, to understand more than just myself, and that is because we have this shared knowledge, this shared awareness of something higher than ourselves within. And so, yeah, just thank you for that. Thank you for tapping into your gifts, like, yeah, and sharing it.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you for letting me be a part of your platform and just taking the time to share and build.
Always.
I think this
Always.
is I kind of the more I do it, the more I like it. Sometimes I'm kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't say I don't like doing it, but I guess I don't know. I guess I have to just be I don't know.
I think too, it's that what it is for me, I enjoy how much we resonate, and I enjoy how much our teachings align. And so I think for me, and this is what my desire was for Life in Depth, I wanted to bring conversations that might be uncomfortable, might be seen as taboo for other people. And I wanted to bring these conversations to light. I wanted to be able to resonate on a real level with people, for people to see this kind of content.
Yeah.
Because this kind of stuff is not shared.
Yeah.
Like these conversations right here, this is healing conversations right here. Once again, could be stronger than we might experience in a therapy session.
Yeah.
And so in that, it also fortifies our shared belief for ancestral healing and ancestral connection. And so that all, once again, fortifies the connection and fortifies the chat. And so it is more, it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling. This is fulfilling for me. That's the word.
Yeah, definitely. It really is. It's fulfilling to me. It's fulfilling for me too as well. Like I said, once I get into the mode of doing it, I just be so busy. I'd be so busy to be having so many meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'd be having to have that time that just to be still and to tap in with my, like right now. I'm looking at the time right now. I gotta go to my next location. I'm like, I'm constantly on the go. I'm constantly on the go.
And yeah, that's it. That's it for me. Is like conversations like this where you can tap into yourself. That's what it is. It fulfills you for the next step that you gotta go do. So with that said,
so I'm on my way to Addison right now, and that's a tough crowd. That's a tough crowd right there. So
see, okay, and that's what I love about you though. You are in the root, you are in the hometown, and that is where the magic in your work is, because I know home. I know what it's like there. And to be sharing that magic, y'all not always an open heart and an open mind. So to be able to have the audacity to present yourself, so Beck, I commend you. I commend you. Keep doing the work. Keep doing it. Like if y'all tapped into this, tap into his page.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time and your energy.
And thank you for being patient. Thank you for being patient with me too, because this week has been crazy. My son, like I said, my son had to get surgery, and so
stop. I thought he got surgery.
Yeah, he had to get surgery. So this last couple of days, he hasn't been really sleeping like that.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to nurse him back to his natural self, and it's been challenging. So I've just been everywhere, but things are starting to balance out though. But it's a part of the work. You already know it's a part of the work.
That's the thing. See, that's the thing. We have these fluctuating times in life, and right now it's an up time for the both of us. And look, I've been yawning too. So on that note, I'm going to let this man tap out, tap into your next meeting, and we will continue. We will connect again. And I look forward to sharing more magic on this platform, because I know it's going to happen.
Definitely. I appreciate it again. I really appreciate you. May your ancestors continue to bless you, and may the universe continue to fulfill you and provide you much abundance.
And the same for you. I receive it. I receive it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you too. Take care.
All right, y'all.
Peace.
Tap in. You have a good one, so bad.
You too. Peace.
Peace.